pandemic's mental toll hitting adolescents especially hard. I think we all really kind of know and understand that is a reality, but it was pretty interesting to see this kind of written down and stuff. I don't know what y'all thought yet, but what was interesting, and I'm not going to read much of this, but a couple excerpts that I love, and this is from the Post Bulletin in Rochester, Minnesota, but it's actually a story out of West Fargo, North Dakota. So this was good because this young lady is 12 years old, and she says, "I'm not fearful, mostly because I know what COVID is. I know I have to mask up, but it is still that feeling that I could get my family sick from being with someone in the same room. It was just difficult to get through." And then let's go down to, this is what was really interesting. I'll read more of this. This was part of it. Can technology fill the social gap? So far, Jocelyn hasn't contracted COVID-19, but she has friends who did. They've pulled through just fine, she said. It's kind of stressful, but at the same time, it's something that if it happens, it happens. But whatever you need to do to stop it, she said. And then she talks about school a little bit, and school was something she said that I could go to like every day and have fun. And I'm really missing that in the pandemic. I only get to see half of my friends on the days I go to school, and the others I am losing contact with because of the pandemic. Human beings yearn for physical connection, and Zoom can overcome some of it, or a lot of it, it says here. But I still think there is something to be said about in-person communication. Yeah. That is critical for children's development, for that social emotional learning. And this is Simonic, and she's a psychology professor, I believe. Boy, this was a hard one for me because you just see it everywhere.
Everybody's being affected by it.
Everybody.
Didn't they say the ages 6 to 12 are the most affected right now? In the article they said.
I believe so,
yeah,
yes.
Ages 6 to 12 because of the socialization, how the interaction, how young they are, how impressible they are. I just look at my own grandkids, how they're trying to entertain themselves, and it's not working. It's just not working.
There's always go-tos, right? Like the video games, and which is oddly enough is still
now they're doing it too much. They already did that on the side.
Exactly. That was already an issue with
10
too
years
much
from
screen
now,
time.
what do we say? Oh, you were a 2020 kid. That's what happened.
Right.
You were a 2020
That's the
kid?
excuse.
Yeah, you're a 2020 kid. It's sad. It's really sad.
One of the things I got from the article was, and I'm a mother of 2 teenagers, but how much routine and structure are so important, how often they fight us on it. But when you read this article, you realize how much Jocelyn, I believe is her name, she misses it. She misses, being, waking up, going to school and going, to dance or piano, whatever it was. She had a lot of extracurricular activities that just kind of came to a halt. And, they desire that. And not only is it healthy for them, it's good for us as parents as well. And then it was all taken away. And then they were expected to not only, to try to socialize in a different way with Zoom meetings and classes, which, by the way, from my perspective of doing this, it has been socially awkward doing the Zoom meetings as well with them. I realize how intimidated and maybe a little insecure my children are with them, with the Zoom. I mean, more than you'd ever think, because they went to school every day and they saw these people every day, every class period, but they still find it awkward and weird. So that's what I got out of it. We do, desire routine and structure even if we fight it.
So suicide. So I'll read it exactly how it says it here. This is from Healthline. Teen suicide rate spikes 56% in a decade. From 2007 to 2017, it spiked 56%.
Wow.
Wow.
before any of this stuff has happened. I couldn't find the exact article, but there was one here that said suicide in the state of Minnesota is up 30% this year.
And, it'll actually
And
take
it said suicide. I don't know about teen suicide. It just said in all is up 30%.
Yeah.
And it'll actually take a whole year and a half to cycle through, they said, because of like the mental health piece of it, that it takes time to get into an appointment where a mental health practitioner can actually document it, you
Yeah.
know.
Yeah,
And
because this said that they're up. What were they up?
600, was it? No.
400%.
400%, yeah.
I think
Wow.
it
And
was.
just the last
In
6
this,
months.
400% increase in calls for help.
Yeah, and that's calls for help. That's not even like a program or because they don't because everybody's backed up and because of COVID rules and regulations. A program, people aren't even able to obtain a program or any, ongoing kind of treatment yet because of the mass influx of
Yeah.
the numbers. So.
And those are just the
Wow.
calls for help.
Yeah.
We were not even thinking the individuals that repress this, internalize it, and are not talking about it.
Right.
Absolutely.
Right.
Yeah.
And this isn't just a short term either of, it was lightheartedly saying, oh my gosh, the kids growing up nowadays are going to struggle socially because they're in front of their screens so much.
Yeah.
And now that's all that they have.
Yeah.
So what happens when they get into college and they have to go back into a classroom or get into a professional career and actually have to sit across from somebody and
Right.
carry a conversation and not have the protection of that screen? There can be pretty major long-term effects on
I
all
agree.
of this.
I agree. And we don't even know. That's the thing, too. We can
Absolutely.
sit here and talk about it every day, every hour, but we really will not know until it happens what these long-term effects will be.
But we can predict. We don't know, but we can predict. When I see an article that says, teen suicide is up 56% in 10 years.
Well, and that was pre-COVID.
Wow.
It's-
you know what I
Absolutely.
mean?
I know.
Imagine,
What's it going to look like next
having
year?
So we should have questions. We should really be having questions. If that number is 56%, and that's before COVID, things need to be addressed, right? Mental health needs to be addressed. There's things going on that we are not, tackling. And now even more so, with COVID and quarantine. So my hope is that, I don't know, those are more questions. Or do we not have enough services out there? Do we not have enough health professionals to help these individuals? Or, what is it? How can we communicate? How can we help?
And I think that's one of the cries to get the schools back open is
Right.
so that the kids can get back with their classmates and start working on those memories that, we had some good friends that, the daughter missed prom last year. She missed homecoming prom and graduation, but she won't have those memories the rest of her life either. So it goes back to the long-term effects, and we need to get kids back in classrooms so they can start making those memories again.
Yeah.
And see, for me, what this article, this was a pretty decently balanced article for me, and they did talk about some of that mental health thing, but they still kind of focused on the one thing, the pandemic, right? And I think that what's so important is we can't forget about, okay, we had a decade of a 56% increase in teen suicide before any of this kind of stuff was happening, and that gets back to the video games and the screen time, and they actually have shown numbers that correlates with that and that disconnect with people. And so we have the anomalies that happen, like the Representative Litlow that we talked about earlier in the show. We have the anomalies like that happen. So we know COVID-19 is here. It's not going to go away. We know that. We know that it affects people over the age of 70 a lot more than it does anybody else. We know that. Why are we looking at one thing and one thing only and not looking at some potential predictors? Right? Like the mental health thing. And for me, Harmony, it's not just about opening up more centers and getting more people. It's like we have to address this lockdown stuff. We have to address the mask. We have to address all those different issues, because that's what we have to go to the root of the problem.
Right.
Not just kind of cover it up with more opportunities to get help. it's not going
Right.
to go away. We can talk to
Right.
psychologists
Right.
all we want to, but until we get rid of the actual problem, that's, for me, that's what it is. Like, we have to get rid of that issue.
Yeah.
So on a personal note,
It's the fear.
my mom is in a nursing home and she's legally blind, and we busted her out of the nursing home, if you want to call it that, for 5 days over Thanksgiving. And of course she came back and had COVID test and everything and stuff. But a couple days later, she had a recap, and they said her numbers have doubled. And we didn't realize, what numbers meant, but their physical health, their mental health, psychological health, and everything. Her numbers doubled 5 days from being back.
Oh.
Right.
And it just goes to show, with her being legally blind, she couldn't see things. She was getting yelled at for touching the screen and trying to visit with us. But we thought with her being legally blind, she was more contained and she was probably more happier being contained. But she missed that social interaction
yeah.
and talking to people. And she's used to touching for people. She can't watch TV or see what's going on in the hallway and different things like that, where she's used to touching for people. But just the difference of her kind of now wanting to live, if you want to call it that, making potatoes and things like that over Thanksgiving, and now having that extra little boost. Boy, I mean, I went and got her for Christmas. Like, come on, you're getting in the car. We're going out for Thanksgiving, Christmas. Come on, we're going to do
That's
this.
great.
Just because she got excited and, oh, you're going to come get me? Oh, I get to go, compared to being in this quarantine and sequestered and lockdown kind of thing. So I can imagine what these little kids feel. And that whole mental health piece of it, how it deteriorated so much so fast with my mom watching that. So
I will give a shout out to the Rochester Public School District. I have a 17-year-old at Mayo High School. They called. They asked. They called right away, and I was busy, and they're like, "Can you call back?" And I'm like, "How can my kid get in trouble? He's not even in school." Well,
I know.
Seriously. And like, it was a guidance counselor, and he called back again. He's like, "I want to. How's your son doing mentally?" This, that, and I thought that was actually really cool.
That
And
is
they
cool.
did it, I believe, 2 or 3 times. And so a shout out, they are checking. And I want my kids back in school. I want this. I'm seeing Sam miss out on things and that bonding and stuff like that. And but I also see the other side of it, where they're doing their best to check. They're also
Yes.
trying
Right.
to, like you said, work with you as a parent, and tons of emails on what you can do at home. So it's not like they're just, well, we'll figure it out and we'll see you when it gets all over.
right.
They're going
trying.
above. They're going above and
trying.
beyond. I've noticed that. I have a middle schooler and a high schooler, and I have been just super impressed by the communication of and it's not even just about the schoolwork. They really are saying, how's she doing
Yes.
emotionally, and I speak of that with my daughter because that's the one I focused on a little bit more. But I love that they've taken a personal approach, and they really are going above and beyond. I would imagine, they've had many meetings together, and they know that this is kind of probably number one priority to focus on.
Sure.
The little postcards that say, "We miss your smiling face."
Yeah.
Yeah.
Even though they're 17, that still is a brightener. That's a day
Yeah.
brightener that somebody's
Yeah.
thinking about me. I'm not just sitting in front of a computer.
Nice.
Somebody thought about me today or
Yeah.
cared enough to.
I didn't know that, Lisa. That's great.
Yeah.
I mean, that's great.
And I mean, that's through one high school. I don't know if the whole district
Right.
did that, but that's through.
Well, Kellogg Middle School's been doing it, so I'm very proud of them. I got
Yeah.
Century High School; they're doing amazingly well. So kudos
I
to
think
them.
we all need postcards.
Right.
a little bright
Yeah.
day,
Yep.
We
you know?
all need it. We all need one.
We can do. It's really good that they're doing those things, but I mean, even here it says that face-to-face interaction.
absolutely.
is where it's so important that, and that's where that mental health
And they asked that.
strength comes in.
The guidance
right?
counselor asked that, is your son getting social interaction
Yep.
with some of his friends? You know what I mean? The
Not
counselor
supposed
knows
to.
those. Well, within reason. If you
kids.
know, but if you're outside and you're staying apart or you're having a baseball game or something, you can stay. You know what I
Yeah.
mean?
Right.
That's cool. But you're not breaking any mandates.
Yeah. No, that's really good that they're doing that.
Yeah.
And I
What about
hope-
those people that the mental health piece is so much more important than the scare of COVID?
From a household
Really?
who's had COVID, I'm a social person. It would drive me crazy if I didn't go out and be social. My son had COVID, and it was 10 days or 14 days of whatever, staying home and not seeing his. He wanted to go. He wanted to be with his friends. He wanted to, so everybody took the precautions they needed to, but the mental part of it was definitely more than actually getting the virus.
Yeah.
And that's just for
Yeah.
our home.
And that's coming out more and more
Yeah.
too, like actual proof.
Yeah.
And there's so much with that, isn't it? It's like it's not only just dealing with it personally; it's what fearing judgment from other people of like
Yes.
you have it, I can't be around
Right.
you. So there's
Whose fault is that?
Mask shaming.
Whose fault is that?
I want to go with sort of the media has really just kind
Our
of
fears.
I don't know. There it's I think we're all in our own way, very fearful, and we've been manipulated in a lot of ways from different people. It's really just about where you get your source of your information, and
That's absolutely.
I choose not to live in fear. That's mine. I am. Am I concerned about COVID? Of course I am. I'm a caregiver. I work, with individuals with disabilities. I have to go to work. I depend on my paycheck. So of course I'm concerned about it. But am I going to let it run my life? No. I have so much on my plate right now. I just got to be cautious, make sure I'm doing all the right things. Hand sanitizer is kind of my friend right now.
Well, I've been called a super spreader quite a few times at all the rallies I've been to. Look at me.
Great.
COVID
You're
free.
still fine.
Yeah, I'm still
let
fine,
me
so.
give you my stats. I have driven about 110,000 miles this year in 2020. I've flown I love Delta, by the way. Shout out for Delta. That's a free one for you guys.
Yeah.
It's coming your way.
Right.
But I flew, my Delta app said I flew actual miles of 142,500 miles.
Wow.
I stayed at 100 and just shy of 160. I want to say 158 hotels. So average about 3 nights a week gone. I haven't caught COVID to my knowledge. But exactly.
That's funny.
But the reality is the reality, right? And I'm not the only one that's doing that. I'm not the only one that's in a bunch of hotels. I'm not the only one
Right.
that's in a bunch of airplanes. I was on 130 some different airplanes.
And I always just would think that way, if you're going to get it, an airplane would be the place to get it. I mean,
Right.
I've been on a lot of airplanes. You hear people coughing and this, and you're in such a tight space. But, everybody's taking precautions. Everybody's sanitizing. So we can only hope that,
Yeah.
that's
Yeah.
helping.
So it's
What about getting immune to it, though?
The point is, the point is that I think that there's zero doubt that I've been exposed to it. I mean, there's no way that I haven't been exposed to it in all the places I've been. There's
Right.
no way. But I want to say that my immune system's probably pretty solid, right? Because I've been all these different
Because you've
places.
been out.
Yeah.
Because because I take vitamins, because I clearly don't work out enough, but work out a little bit, and so that helps your immune system and things, and then also the mental health of it. That also helps
It does.
your immune system.
It does.
And so that's where I get so concerned is that they're only looking at that fear factor of COVID-19 and everybody's going to die. And that's true, everybody is going to die.
Right.
But not everybody's going to die of COVID-19.
Right.
And so, I don't know. I digress. But